Hi, everyone. I'm Mike Crowe, one of the founders of Mitten Getaways Glamping Company. Thanks for tuning in to our podcast, The Mitten Minute, produced by Woodall's Campground Magazine and sponsored by Outdoor Alliances, which provides digital marketing services to campgrounds, RV parks, and glamping properties. Our show is all about our journey to open a glamping resort here in Eastern Michigan and focuses on the planning, development, and guest experience related to that. As always, we have to make sure everyone knows what glamping is. Glamping is, well, having air conditioning in your tent. I just got back from Dallas, Texas, where highs were in the hundreds. I'm not doing any glamping there without air conditioning. We call our version of glamping Michi-glamping, which includes a variety of glamping accommodations set up with space between them, available year-round, on a secluded resort with plenty of activities. Keeping with our theme of exploring other glamping resorts in Michigan for the past couple episodes, we decided we needed to book a stay at Getaway. Getaway, for our listeners who aren't familiar, is a national glamping chain. Their model is to set up on rural land within a drivable distance from major cities. They use the same accommodations across all their locations, which is similar to a very small park model RV, I'd say. Each unit has a full bathroom, a kitchenette, and a queen bed, with the exception of if you plan to bring your kids, like us, and then you have the option to reserve a two-bed unit, where there's a second queen-size bed lofted above the other one. We will be staying at the Getaway location in Columbiaville, Michigan, and that's about an hour and a half north of Detroit, depending on traffic. The location is named Getaway Detroit or Getaway The Thumb. For our listeners that aren't Michiganders, remember, everything in Michigan can be depicted by a location on your hand. So, again, we're staying in the Thumb area next month. So that's a little bit about Getaway. I thought our focus of this episode would not be on the resort itself, but on the experience booking and how we related it to our plans for booking a stay at Mitten Getaways in the future. As with our episodes covering the glamping stays that we had, we'll try to avoid making this a review. That being said, it's kind of hard to avoid commenting on some of the good things we found while booking our stay at Getaway. Overall, that process was really smooth and intuitive. I suppose that's something you might expect from a national brand like Getaway. That hasn't always been our experience booking, though. We know it'll be very important to make the process seamless when we launch the ability for our guests to book. So specifically, I'll talk about 4 areas of the process that I broke it down into. Number 1, getting us there, actually getting us to come to their site and book a reservation. Number 2, the date and accommodation selection, what you're going to stay in and when. Number 3, the extras. And then number 4, the follow-up, what happens after booking. So first, how did they get us there? How did they get us to decide to book? I think it was a combination of good marketing and right pricing. I subscribed to their communications months ago and regularly receive marketing emails from them at least once a week. This particular one that caught my attention was a 25% off my stay. And knowing that a camping trip could go south with young kids, we didn't want to spend a lot of money on this trip, so the promo code helped, as well as having very reasonable weekday pricing this coming fall in September of around $110 per night, and that was before the discount. And then they also had the option to book a single night at a time. So this was a good fit to bring the kids to, not too far away. And yeah, I think the process of booking actually highlights the importance of growing your audience if you're operating a campground or a glamping resort. In particular, having subscribers or followers, as opposed to your booking guests having to find you. By marketing directly to your followers, you're more easily able to kind of fill up your occupancy This is one of the main reasons we've chosen to stand up our website and social media presence, newsletter, store, this podcast. Even we want to have a successful launch. And I think it's working based on the number of subscribers that we've accumulated so far. The next part of the booking process, I'm sure everyone's familiar with, even if they've never gone glamping. Common to all short-term rentals is the step of selecting your dates of stay and the room or the accommodation you're going to stay in. In one sense, it's really to Getaway's advantage to only have one accommodation type. That makes booking pretty simple. You don't have to choose in their booking system. It just automatically adjusts based on the number of guests you have. If you go 1 or 2 guests, you're going to get a 1 bed. If you have more than 2, I'm not sure what the limit was, but we have 4. They automatically put us in a 2-bed unit. In the calendar of available dates within the Getaway app was nice because it showed the price per night for each day. So if you were flexible on your dates of stay, that was helpful for us. We could adjust and pick a less costly night since it wasn't a particular date that we had to be there. And then one cool little feature that they had was the ability to join a wait list if your dates weren't available. So how that applies to us? Well, knowing that our intention is to have multiple accommodation types, we know it'll be important that we structure our booking experience for our guests in a way that it's not too overwhelming. That being said, I'm pretty confident that the booking software we've selected will support that simplicity. I've seen it on other glamping operators' websites that use that same software. And we believe that it's the right thing to do for us is to have multiple accommodations. We don't want to feel like this is Henry Ford in the Model T where you can have any color you want as long as it's black. No, for us, we feel it's important to have multiple accommodations or structures. We've been to the glamping show and been researching for nearly a year or longer now, and we've really fallen in love with the various structures that you've seen on our website or that we've talked about. And we want our guests to have options when they book and quite frankly, an incentive to come back and stay in a different structure and have a slightly different experience. Extras were the next part of the booking process. It may go without saying, but extras are the additional things you can add to your trip during booking, but before checking out. My experience has been that these have become big in recent years. We've heard of other glamping operators generating 7 figures just on the extras alone, not including the actual average daily rate or the accommodation price. So we indeed plan to have extras available during our booking process, including things like kayak rentals, having extra camp chairs, flower bouquets for people celebrating special occasions, trip insurance, etc. Getaway actually had some extras available, such as snack kits and a kids adventure kit. But one unique thing that they offered that I thought was cool was an early check-in and a late checkout option. Simply stated, if you paid $25, you'd get an extra 2 hours to 2.5 hours at either the start of your trip or the end of the trip. And being that we were only staying for one night, we opted for the early check-in so we could get started sooner with our trip. That seems like for me, from an operator perspective, it seems like a good way to prioritize your cleaning or your turnover schedule for your accommodations. For the units that have an early check-in, obviously those would be where your cleaning staff or you yourself, if you're doing it, would start to get them ready soonest. And likewise, for the people that have a late checkout, those would be the last units you'd be cleaning and turning over for your incoming guests. I really do hope that our booking software company is listening and adding that option, because I think it's pretty cool to have the early check-in and late checkout options for a small extra fee. And lastly, in our booking process / experience was the follow-up. What happens after we finished booking? In this case, I received a nice confirmation email with a trip summary, the financial breakdown, all the fees and taxes that go into the booking, and things to prepare me for my stay, like a link that pointed me to their frequently asked questions page. I thought this was done nicely and similar to what we had envisioned, having all those components. But one thing we'd likely add to ours would be a encouragement to book what we're going to call our reservables in advance. We're calling things like time in the barrel sauna, time on the disc golf course, or a massage appointment at a reservable. Basically, they're the extras that require scheduled time slots. So we have them there to do separately from the extra physical items that we talked about earlier, that were the real extras. So that's it. We had overall a good experience booking on Getaway. We observed some aspects that we already planned to include and identified some things that we plan to do a little differently. And I'm sure after we stay there, maybe we'll do a little podcast episode kind of recapping how we'd relate our experience there with things we'll do similarly or differently on our resort. But that does wrap up our episode for the week. Thank you for listening, and we hope you gained something from it or found it interesting. If you do have any requests for future episodes, please submit them via mittengetaways.com/reach out or email us at glampers@mittengetaways.com. The Mitten Minute, our glamping journey, is produced by Woodall's Campground Magazine and sponsored by Outdoor Alliances. You can check out all episodes of the Mitten Minute podcast at mittengetaways.com/minute. And follow our journey in other ways, including our newsletter, by visiting mittengetaways.com/subscribe. Thank you, and we hope you have a great week.